This weekend, Donald Trump held a rally in South Carolina, but he raised a few eyebrows by suggesting that NATO members who fail to pay their dues would be getting what they deserve if aggressors like Russia launched an attack on their soil. Have a look at this.
The Secretary General Stoltenberg, well, I don't know if he is anymore, but he was my biggest fan. He said all these presidents came in, they'd make a speech, they'd leave, and that was it. And they all owed money, and they wouldn't pay it. I came in, I made a speech, and I said, you got to pay up. They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
Donald Trump saying, as he said before, if you don't want to pay for NATO, then you can't really be in it. And that's the astonishing thing. And of course, a lot of people here say, well, that is terribly irresponsible, isn't it? What on earth is Donald Trump thinking? Why on earth would he suggest that he would not defend countries that were part of the NATO alliance? They've also, of course, said, well, hang on a minute, he's now encouraging, is he not, people to be frightened that if they were attacked and they hadn't paid their dues, that they would not be defended by NATO. I don't think he was really doing that. Let's talk to Greg Swenson, who's from Republicans Overseas, to find out what it was that he thought Donald Trump meant. Greg, a very good evening to you. Welcome.
Good to see you, Mike.
Thanks very much for joining us. I mean, there's been a lot of kerfuffle, shall we say, around this speech. People who know Donald Trump say, look, he wants people to pay up. He's done it before. When he was president, he wanted more money out of the NATO members than they were willing to give. And in the end, they came up and gave him the money. So is that what he's doing again?
Yeah, and look, they made progress. I think they went from 5 countries reaching the 2% of GDP threshold, when he took office in 2017 to maybe 10 or 11 now. But there's a long way to go. You still have another 20 countries, 15, 20 countries that are clearly not making it, starting with Germany, of course. So look, I think his point is sometimes delivered in a very Trumpian way. Right. He's a bit clumsy sometimes, or maybe he exaggerates, or he's unfiltered, to say the least. But he has a point. And I think, if anything, this might encourage some of these countries, or the voters in these countries, to say to their governments, you're not spending enough on defense. Let's cut back the welfare state, and let's focus on things that government should focus on. Besides, a safety net, let's provide decent military spending.
Well, you'd have to think during these times that we are in, particularly with Russia in Ukraine, that NATO countries would want to be absolutely sure that they were protected by the US and by NATO. I mean, this is not a time to be like parsimonious with your money, is it?
Right. And I say the same thing, I have the same criticism for the US right now, and Trump brings up a good point about, sharing the burden with the European allies. But you also have to think about, Biden has cut defense spending in real terms by 3% in the last year in the military budget. This is not the right time for cutting military spending, cutting defense spending. These vax mandates and DEI mandates and diversity, teaching and all this garbage, this rubbish that they are infiltrating the military with has really damaged recruiting. Recruiting is down dramatically. It's down 60% from the targets in the Army, as well as in the other armed services. So, this is not the right time. To your point, Mike, it's not the right time to be cutting back on defense. And in the case of the countries in Europe that are spending less than 2%, it's time to really step up.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, as far as the US military is concerned, we were talking today on this show about Grant Shapps saying that, there's this kind of woke stream running through all of military recruitment and all of that. So they're having the same problem in the States, are they?
Yeah, I probably started in the States, frankly, and was imported to the UK, like wokeism in general. And it's really been terribly damaging to the morale in the U.S. military. 8,000 U.S. servicemen left the military because of the vax mandates, and maybe some of them can be recruited to come back. But the combination of these reckless vaccine mandates and mask mandates, and then the infiltration of DEI culture, and these guys that are running the military right now are basically they're more interested in diversity and inclusion than they are in developing a strong military. And that's really tragic. And I hope that changes. I think, we might be hitting the bottom on this as some of these recruiting numbers come out